What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Anime Princess, and today I want to go over my day one for the league start. So we'll start off with a little montage of how my character progressed through the first day. Then we'll talk about, we'll go over my path of buildings because we did a lot of progression on the character itself. We started off non-crit version, and then by the end of the day, I had killed Uber Lab and done the crit transition. As for how we followed along the league start plans, we went all the way up to level 60, and then as you can see here, the Chaos Recipe Enhancer looks a little weird because there was a patch on day one which broke Chaos Recipe Enhancer, so I had to try 4 different old versions before we got one that actually worked. That was a little bit of an unexpected roadblock, but eventually we got a version working and we did Chaos Recipe. We farmed Heist to get a 6th link. I also ended up buying an Anathema. Now I know Anathema is pretty far into our progression, but I also realized Ali has Anathema for her Splitting Steel build. Pulstron has Anathema in his Archmage Ball Lightning build, and it's a pretty rare ring, so I just wanted to lock in the price. I got mine for around 25 chaos. I believe now they're around 50 chaos, so they haven't climbed too far, and they might stabilize at that price since there's a lot of people playing other builds, so you know they're all farming. Anyways, here we are at some footage where we killed Uber Lab. As you can see with my gear, I'm using double Singularity. If you ever feel like you have not enough damage for the content you're doing, feel free to drop the WIDOWHAIL rearguard for 2 singularities, because this will essentially double your damage no matter what sort of rest of your progression looks like. If you're crit swapped, you'll still get approximately double damage. If you're not crit swapped, you know, again, doubling your damage. So we eventually did drop basically all our projectile speed just for massive hits. With the Call of the Brotherhood, we just insta-freeze, lock everything. Playing it more like a melee play style, it does feel quite a bit different. I am trying to 5-link the bow so I can go back to WIDOWHAIL rearguard with a curse setup. So that's probably what we're going to try and do on stream as our next goal. The first one, we have 91 skill points so far. I believe this is right after I finished doing heists and I was ready to go into maps. So we're on a 6th link with only 85,000 damage, which is pretty low. Let's look at my skills. I have only defensive auras right now because I wanted to play super tanky, a little extreme. So we have Grace, Determination, Purity Elements. Purity Elements was to fix my resistances and to give me ailment immunity because I hadn't yet captured Brine King to give myself freeze immunity. But this also blocks ignites and shocks, so it does do quite a bit. Spark 6th link. Now, I could not for the life of me get the proper colors, so we had one red socket. I just threw an inspiration. Before you swap to Eldritch Battery, which would be right here, Mind over Matter, Inspiration is pretty good. It lowers the mana cost, it increases your damage by quite a bit. And once you do make the swap, you can use Cruelty Support. Cruelty Support is what I did end up using very shortly after this was saved. It is a really good damage multiplier. It's even better than Inspiration. Inspiration requires you to spend mana, which is why you cannot use this with Eldritch Battery. Just keep in mind, this is what we were doing. You know, you can be pretty flexible with your skill gem colors. See, I'm not using faster projectile supports here. It's just Spark, Spell Echo, added Lightning, Lightning Pen, Pierce. But we are using the WIDOWHAIL rearguard, which is giving us a bunch of projectile speed. So it still feels pretty fast. I was using Callista's Grace as soon as I got to Heist because this was 2 Chaos Orbs. So we had the Spark in a pseudo 5-link with faster casting, but obviously we saved up. We bought the 6th link through Heist. And after this, we quickly went into maps. Moving on to the second progression tree, we're 10 levels gained, and we have Eldritch Battery with Mind over Matter spect. We're sitting at almost double our previous damage, but it's still pretty low. But let's look at how we doubled our damage. We still have all the same defensive auras. However, since we have Eldritch Battery, we can put Wrath on Divine Blessing, which gives us a free damage aura that you can get on command by pressing the Divine Blessing button. We've also added in Call of the Brotherhood, which lets us set our resonance count to 50% and gives us the option of dropping lightning penetration for Trinity support. So that's how we got all of the extra damage. I guess I should keep mentioning that Cruelty, this isn't the best link. Obviously, the links in the starter guide, Path of Building, are optimal. However, just with my body armor, it was hard to get the perfect colors, and this is still a really good link. So, yeah, that's what's happening there. And yeah, that's the extent of the second tree. So let's move on to the final tree. All right, so to touch on my current character, the hit DPS has skyrocketed to 860,000. This is a fully crit swapped character, although it's definitely not min-max. So let's just talk about what has happened here. So a lot of this damage is actually with the two singularities. This essentially doubles the damage. So if I went back to the WIDOWHAIL setup, we'd be probably around 450,000. Just keep that in mind. So I'm fully committing to just having a massive hit here. For my skills, I don't have faster projectiles and I don't have the WIDOWHAIL, so there's really no projectile speed. I will probably tweak this around to possibly use WIDOWHAIL again, but just we wanted to do Uber Lab. That's a really tanky boss, so I wanted to have as much damage as possible. And we came out of it. The crit swap adds even more damage, so I just thought I'd keep the sort of melee playstyle going for a little while and just see how that felt, and it felt pretty good. So I have Spark, Pierce, Spell Echo, Trinity, and then we drop some other links for critical strike support and critical damage support. Steel Skin on automation. Frostblink of Wintry Blast, I should note, is probably the best movement skill once you swap over to WIDOWHAIL. Even way before the crit swap, you want to be using this over Frostblink. You can just hold the button down and you'll just be Frostblinking nonstop, and it doesn't share the same cooldown as regular Frostblink. So keep in mind, Frostblink Wintry Blast is not instant. It's kind of like Flame Dash, where it takes a little bit of momentum to start moving. And normal Frostblink is instant, but it has a cooldown. So we have both. If I'm trying to dodge a boss, I'm going to use regular Frostblink. Otherwise, I'm going to use the special Frostblink. And this still has all the defensive auras, Grace, Determination, Purity elements. So if we dropped Purity elements for, say, Zealotry, we could even have more damage. But I'm still pretty happy rocking 3 very defensive auras at the moment. That's not gonna last forever. Eventually we will want to drop Purity elements. I already have freeze immunity. It's just by actual character resistances. They're not good enough without Purity elements. Now, some of this damage is conditional. For example, Frost Shield, it assumes this is up. This gives us a lot of crit chance. Otherwise, really the gems haven't changed too much. As for the items, I've been slowly trying to improve my rares. We got a Hubris Circlet. I think we had this since even the previous Path of Buildings. This gives us quite a bit of energy shield. Body armor. Fizz damage reduction. We also get a lot of fizz damage reduction from doing Uber Lab, because we are able to get Conviction of Power, which gives us 4 endurance charges for a lot of fizz damage reduction. This is the character so far, and as I mentioned earlier in the video, the plans going forward are to get 5 socket or 5 link on the 6 socket WIDOWHAIL, so we can go back to using the more defensive WIDOWHAIL setup, probably drop some defensive auras for some damage in the auras, but we'll be able to use the Anathema for the curse setup swap. So we've done the crit swap. Next is the curse swap. All right, that is the progress so far. I'll have all 3 of these Path of Buildings linked in the video description if you want something to look at on your own screen. Alright, we'll wrap up this video by looking at the prices of some of the common items that I've been using. Singularity, this costs 2 chaos, and I'm filtering for very good damage rolls, so I'll include this link in the video description. I just bought 2 of these just to have massive steroid damage on stuff that you want high damage for. Anathema, there's 18 of these that exist. Starts at 55 chaos, very quickly goes up to 1 divine. Now, I don't know if I'm being unrealistic to expect these to keep going up just because of the 3 content creators using this item and also coupled with its rarity. But yeah, I was pretty worried and I invested in this before I even needed it. Now, the Doryani's Belt, there's only 4 of these that exist. I'm not even using this belt. There are multiple ways to get lifesteal. You can use the unique Velocco's sign to get lifesteal on a ring. There are some obscure ways to get it. Like I'm getting it on an amulet, which it's just a rare amulet that drops from Alva, which has lightning resistance with lightning leech. You can also get from Delve, the modifier lightning leech on rings. So there's a few different options there. There are probably some other ones like cluster jewels, but that's probably even further in the future. So it's up to you if you want to invest the 1 divine. This is honestly really good. Lightning damage is good. Strength is good. The armor is good. Double res, pretty high amounts of res. Very nice. Lightning leech. Also, I should mention on glove implicits with the Eldritch currency, you can get leech on that. So that's probably actually the easiest way to get leech. That's another good way. All of these ways are valid. I just chose to get the amulet because my amulet was really bad. I might honestly move on to the glove leech because that seems very simple if I happen to get a better amulet. Call of the Brotherhood, 60 of these available, 3 chaos each. When you pick this up, you got to drop lightning penetration because you're no longer doing full lightning damage. You're only doing half lightning damage. And you add in Trinity support. Very good defensive layer because you're freezing everything. Really good offensive layer because of Trinity. Replica Dragonfang for Spark. There's 3 that exists, 3.5 divines. This is pretty expensive. It's good damage, but you know, it's out of my price range, probably out of a lot of your guys' price range as well. So that's a little market update. Let's boot up the stream and I'll see you guys live on twitch.tv/animeprincess. Peace.